Another week, another dogshit episode of The Mandalorian has come out. This week we have dumb pirates, stupid action scenes that don't make any sense, and enormous retcons that invalidate the last few episodes and made everyone who watched them waste 5 hours of their life that they will never get back. It should come as no surprise that everything Disney touches when it comes to Star Wars is shit, and the reason why that is because the people behind the camera do not give a fuck anymore. They are lazy bastards who, to them, Star Wars is just a normal job where you do the absolute minimal amount of work before cashing out with your massively overpaid salary.
What a twat.
Even though the show is named after the main character, it's not about him or Baby Yoda. This is the Bo-Katan show because any main plot progression is around her. He is just there in the background helping her or doing nothing, and the reason why that is because the show has absolutely no story. We are 5 episodes in and the story is just a repeat of season 2. Bo-Katan is trying to retake Mandalore. Nothing has changed. In fact, all season 3 has been is retconning everything season 2 did, thus wasting everybody's time. Now, despite this being a mostly action episode with decent CGI, it becomes painfully obvious that these scenes were shot on a tiny virtual set, because when we see an entire town's worth of people standing together alongside all of the Mandalorians who fought together in the battle, it ends up being no more than 40 people. It's the same when we see an action scene where there's only a handful of people fighting together at the same time. It makes what's supposed to be a big fight feel tiny and constrained.
Translation, boring.
Now, there's only 3 more episodes left and nothing is going to happen in them. Do not watch them, save yourself the time and headache and do something more productive, like going for a shit. So now I'm going to break down the plot. Episode 5 begins with Apollo Creed being threatened by the pirate boss, and he has a voice that does not suit him at all.
You can't bluff your way out of this one, Gaga.
He is pissed that Apollo Creed killed his men, and it's here where we have our first example of him being a complete fucking idiot. In episode 1, after killing most of the pirates, he allowed one to escape and told him to tell his big bad pirate boss lord that has a cruiser, multiple ships and dozens of men at his command that he was the one who did so. So what exactly was Apollo Creed's great plan to avoid revenge from the Pirate King?
Navarro is now under the protection of the New Republic.
Navarro is an independent world.
That was your plan to stop them? That's fucking stupid!
Even if that was true, everybody knows that the New Republic is useless and corrupt, so they wouldn't help Navarro anyway. This was the worst decision he could possibly have made, which makes me wonder, why exactly did he choose to do this? He could have just killed all of the pirates and tried to keep what happened to them secret. Or even better, he could have just allowed them to drink in at school, and it would have cost them nothing. But no, he chose the worst possible solution by attacking them, knowing full well who they work for, and having no means to defend his city.
Are you fucking retarded?
So, to the shock of absolutely nobody, the pirates decide to bombard the city, and everybody flees into the desert.
This whole horrible tragedy could have been avoided.
Apollo Creed sends a message to a person he knows in the New Republic, asking him to get the New Republic to send a fleet to kill the pirates. Now, why exactly should the New Republic send men and women to die defending his home, even though they rejected joining them in the first place, and still don't plan to even if they are rescued? Just how entitled is Apollo Creed to think that he should get all of the benefits of joining the New Republic without any of the responsibilities? Anyway, this low-level pilot says he's going all the way to Coruscant to get the Senate to send aid. Before he goes, we also get to see that alien from that shitty Rebels TV show, because in this tiny galaxy, everybody knows each other.
Who gives a shit?
We cut to Coruscant and the pilot is trying to get help. Can military personnel just leave the base whenever they feel like?
I find it highly unlikely.
The evil female officer from episode 3 shows up. Now, I knew they would just ignore what happened in episode 3. It is painfully obvious that she is the one that tampered with the machine. They even have an eyewitness that confirms this. And yet the New Republic is so incompetent, it cannot put 2 and 2 together.
Why is everyone so fucking stupid?
So the female spy just gets away with it. These writers are so lazy, they don't even give a shit about doing the groundwork necessary to get the characters to do what they want.
I finally realized why I hate you. You're lazy.
She says not to help Navarro because they aren't a member and their priority is to help actual New Republic worlds. This scene is being framed like what she said is evil, but she's clearly correct in pointing out the obvious.
This is making insanely good sense to me.
Sounds like a rather imperial way of thinking.
No, it sounds like a responsible way of thinking. The government isn't a charity, and getting involved in every pointless conflict would not only weaken the New Republic, but create far more enemies by getting involved in forever wars that you have no idea about. The pilot quite rightly gets rejected, so he decides to go looking for Mando. Can New Republic captains just take all this time off and use military equipment for their own personal use? Even the Empire wasn't this bad. The pilot is able to find Mando straight away because the droid Mando has with him happens to be old friends with him, and the droid told the pilot where to find them.
Bollocks.
Just think how much convenience there is for this to happen. Mando needs to go look for a droid. He goes to Tatooine and meets the mechanic, who luckily has this R5 unit for him to use, who also happens to be best friends with the New Republic pilot. The writing in this show is contrived bullshit. The Mandalorians decide to help, but they have one little problem.
We don't even have ships.
Then how the fuck did you all get on this planet in the first place? You started off on Navarro and travelled throughout the galaxy to wind up here. Did these noble warriors just hitchhike around? Or maybe the show is running out of money and didn't want to add more ships?
The New Republic has to know that the Empire is growing again.
So that's confirmation. The New Republic knows about the First Order and doesn't give a shit. Can anyone tell me what our main characters have been doing this entire time? This is set 7 years after Return of the Jedi, and in that time Luke Skywalker only had one student, who he trained for a small amount of time. So what exactly has Luke Skywalker been doing other than fucking around? These are the problems you run into when you don't plan anything out. So anyway, we cut to Apollo Creed, and he tells the townspeople that help is coming. Why exactly are these people listening to him? It's his fault that everybody is in the desert and their homes are rubble. They should tear him limb from limb for what he did. We cut back to the Mandalorians and we see them arrive at Navarro in the only 2 ships they have, which are Mando's and Bo-Katan's. Now, there is a massive problem with how time works in this show. Apollo Creed is in the desert and asks the pilot for help. The pilot manages to leave his planet, go to Coruscant, arrange a meeting, get rejected, make contact with R5, fly all the way to the planet where the Mandalorians are, have yet another meeting until Mando and all the Mandalorians finally travel to Navarro. And all of these things must have happened within a few hours because barely any time has passed in Navarro. This is the exact same fast-travelling bullshit that happened in the later seasons of Game of Thrones. Mando arrives and manages to damage the pirate's cruiser as shields no longer exist. It then launches fighters to chase after him, who draws them away from the city as the other Mandalorians drop in and attack everybody. The Mandalorians are getting pinned down by gunfire, and for some reason they decide to take cover even though they're wearing indestructible armor.
Why?
Well, the only reason they do this is so the female blacksmith can appear from absolutely nowhere and come from behind. Now, how exactly did she land on the planet if she doesn't have a jetpack? She ends up attacking them with her stupid blacksmithing tools, and the guards don't even notice gunfire coming from behind them as she wipes everybody out. We then see the pirate boss in his useless cruiser, and he decides to fire upon Apollo Creed and the townspeople. But for some reason, the ship can't aim directly at them. No, the ship can't hit the target unless it happens to be right above it.
Whoa, that sounds like a pretty big design flaw.
Why is this ship so terrible? Was it built by China? Mando and Bo-Katan manage to blow up the ship and the pirates die.
I don't give a fuck.
After the battle, Bo-Katan meets with female blacksmith and she tells her to remove her helmet.
This is the way.
They keep saying that like it means something, but as it turns out, it means fuck all. This cult only ever had one rule, which was do not remove your helmet ever, period, full stop. But now female blacksmith says, just forget that one rule, it doesn't matter anymore.
You have walked both worlds. You are the one who can unite us.
Wrong! That's wrong!
She's talking to her like she's Aquaman. What two worlds? There's only helmet wearers and non-helmet wearers.
This is stupid!
Bo-Katan is somehow qualified to lead the Mandalorians because she walks both worlds. Except Mando also took his helmet off as well. So hasn't he also walked both worlds? Not only that, he is way more qualified because he wields the Darksaber. Whereas Bo-Katan's own clan abandoned her when she returned home without the Darksaber.
When I returned without the Darksaber, my forces melted away.
So why exactly would they follow her now?
The least qualified person in the world to lead us!
What was the point in having Mando jump through all of these hoops when female leader could have just bent the rules anytime she wanted and let Mando back into their shitty cult? If I was Mando or any other Mandalorian in that cult, I would be pissed off by that decision.
Bo-Katan walks both worlds.
In other words, the rules don't apply to her and you get to make them up as you go.
She can bring all tribes together. When I returned without the Darksaber, my forces melted away.
Bullshit.
This also means that nobody actually wants to follow Bo-Katan but whoever has the Darksaber, which means that she is not leadership material, but just like the female spy earlier on, the writers will ignore this part as well. The episode ends with the New Republic pilot finding a derelict ship which happened to be carrying Moff Gideon on board, and it turns out that he's escaped. Not only that, they find some damaged Beskar armor, because in this episode Beskar armor happens to be weak, until next time where it's back to being indestructible again.
I'm so fucking bored!
And that's the end of episode 5.
It's a piece of shit.
This season is all about reversing everything that happened in season 2. Grogu went away, now he's back. Bo-Katan was going to retake Mandalore, then she wasn't, now she is again. Moff Gideon was arrested, now he's free again. This show has been completely aimless since he was arrested. It's probably why they needed him to come back, because this show is absolutely desperate for a villain, as it has no other reason to exist. The Mandalorian continues to waste everybody's time as it has absolutely no goal. It fails to move the character's world or main plot forward in any meaningful way. Disney Star Wars is fucked and there is absolutely no point in watching it anymore.
What a fucking waste of time.